All right, in this session we're going to do end-to-end smoked prime rib on the big green egg, which is probably our number one recipe within our family, especially when you get around the holidays. The prep is fairly simple. You want to do this process about at least 4 hours before, if not 6 to 8 hours, depending on how much time you have. But the ingredients are all listed below on the website on the rub. It's pretty simple. It's basically one part this, one part this, one part this, and then 7 parts Montreal seasoning that's got a bunch of good garlic and pepper in it, and then 1 part kosher salt. And then obviously the main ingredient, your meat. So you're going to want to get a ribeye steak at your local butcher or grocery store. As a rule of thumb, you're going to want 1 bone or 1 rib per 2 people. So it's just my wife and I tonight, so we're going to do this one. But if you had 4 people coming over, you'd want 2 bones, 6 or 7 people with 3 bones, and then all the way up to 5 bones for up to 12 people. So this will cook a little bit faster because it's just this, but I'm still gonna smoke it and do the traditional process. So one thing that's unique about this, instead of doing the traditional mustard rub that I do on all my other beefs, I use just Worcestershire. Worcestershire is a good adhesive, but it also has a lot of good sodium and flavor to break down that meat and that prime rib and make it even more tender and more flavorful. So first thing you're gonna wanna do is rub that all over your piece of meat, and you'll see it, unlike your mustard, it's actually gonna soak in there a little bit, so don't overdo it. You just want to get a nice layer on there like so. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to mix all your ingredients together here, or if you've got your own rub you like on prime rib, then go for it. But basically, I mix all that here in this bowl, and I'm just going to put it on with my hands. Increase this recipe as you have a bigger piece of meat. On the website, it's good enough for at least 3 bones of this. So you don't want to overdo it with this, but you don't want to underdo it as well. So you want to get a good, nice rub on there. All the way around. And then we're going to let this sit in the refrigerator. I'm going to let this sit. I've got about 5 hours today before I need to put it on. But anything over 4 hours, you're going to be safe. It's going to absorb those rubs and spices in there. And you want to pat that down. You can see it just, it sticks to it just like the mustard. It's just Worcestershire, and it gives it a really unique flavor. If you don't like Worcestershire, don't worry about it. You actually don't taste it in the end product, but you will tell that it was definitely rubbed with something other than mustard or olive oil. So that's it. I'm going to wrap that up, put it in the fridge for 4 hours, and then we'll start getting the egg ready here in a little while. All right, so we're about an hour before I'm supposed to put the beef ribeye on. So I've taken it out of the refrigerator and let it get to room temperature, and I've started my egg. So I've just got lump charcoal in there right now. I'm going to get that stabilized, and then once that's done burning off, I'm going to add in the wood. I recommend either pecan wood, hickory wood, or cherry wood for a prime rib. I would stay away from mesquite definitely, or oak. You want something just a little less harsh that doesn't penetrate the meat as much. So pecan, cherry, or hickory are what we're going to do. This is a mix of pecan and cherry that I have. So I'm going to let this burn off, get all those fumes out. I like to give myself about an hour before I have to put the meat on, so I can get the temperature right and get it smoking right. All right, so the charcoal's burned off. We've got a nice fire going in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my wood. So as you probably already know, I started the fire in the middle, and that's going to crumble down. So I'm going to put my wood chunks in there. Now, how long are you supposed to cook this thing? Depends on how big your piece of meat is. Mine's only about 2 pounds, so it's going to probably take anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours. But if you got one that's 4 to 6 pounds, it's probably going to take you 3.5 to 5 hours. So what you're trying to do is get your internal temp to 130 for rare, for rare prime rib, and you're trying to get it to 140 for medium, I wouldn't recommend going anything over that because you're going to cook the flavor out of it. But as you can see, I'm just putting this wood in there, and for, you know, I'm only going to need smoke for 3 hours. That's plenty there, but I like to kind of overdo it. And I'm just going to move that around. And I've been soaking this wood for about 2 hours beforehand. I recommend doing that if you can. It's just going to generate much more smoke for you than it would if you don't. So I'm going to let that start smoking and get that temperature to anywhere from 225 to 250, and then we'll get it set up. All right, so I put the place setter in feet down, which is the smoking configuration, and I put a water pan in there as I usually do, just to keep a little bit of extra moisture. I'm going to put my grill on. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to wait for that to get to 225 or 250, depending on how much time you've got. I prefer to keep it closer to 225. Let that stabilize at 225, and then put the meat on. All right, so we have stabilized. Got plenty of smoke at 225. I'm going to put that right in the middle. You're going to want to put it fat side up in the middle of your big green egg, and obviously if you've got more bones, it's going to be longer. I recommend putting it horizontally this way versus this way, so it heats pretty stable in this area. So that's it. I'm going to close the lid, and I'm going to let this thing get to 130 degrees. It should take this about 2.5 hours, but that's it. No wrapping it during the process. Just let it smoke. It's a tender enough piece of meat where you don't have to wrap it like pork chops or anything like that. So we're going to put it in there, close the lid, and come check on it in about 2 hours. Alright, so while that is cooking on the grill, I'm going to make a sauce that I really like with this. Some people don't care for horseradish. I love it on my prime rib, so if you're a fan of it, this is a really easy recipe to do. And the link below has all the exact ingredients, but essentially it's heavy whipping cream. If you have fresh lemon, that's better. I don't actually have it, so I just have liquid lemon, which is fine too, and salt and pepper. So all you need to do is take 3/4 cups of the whipping cream first. And you're going to whisk that until it starts to foam. If you have a blender, probably makes it a little easier. You just want to get it a nice fluffy consistency there. And then you're going to add a 1/2 cup of prepared horseradish that you can just buy at the grocery store. And then you're going to do 1 whole lemon squeezed, which for this stuff it's about a teaspoon of this. And then you're going to do salt and pepper to taste, which is about a 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon. You just kind of have to play around with that at the end. I prefer a little bit more pepper in there than most. And then salt. You're going to whisk that up, and it's going to become pretty foamy and nice. And then that's going to be your dipping sauce. So whisk that up for about 2 minutes, and then cover it and put it in the fridge at least an hour before the meat's off, and then serve it as a side with the meat. Alright, so it's been about 2.5 hours, and I've been checking on it, and it's almost perfect. So you can hold this bone. I'm right at 131 on that side. You want to get down in the middle, the thickest part, and same on that side. So I'm going to wrap this in foil and let it rest for at least 30 minutes before I cut into it. So this resting process will raise the temperature about 3 to 4 degrees on this meat. So it's 130 now. When we eat it, it'll be at 135. But it also lets all the juices settle. So I'm going to keep that wrapped, and I'm not going to put it in a cooler. I'm just going to keep it wrapped for 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll cut it up and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so it's been resting for about 30 minutes on the counter. Now it's time to cut in and see the final product. So I'm going to split this with my wife tonight. So let's just get a good cut in. And there it is. That looks perfect. That's good. That's not quite medium rare, almost medium prime rib, but that's the end product. Bon appetit. Enjoy.